How,
Right, finally we are in the same frame. Now,
I
I was
swear. I mean,
technology
this is just
always
because
gets the
for the big
better.
celebrity that you are, that, there's so many requests coming in.
No, it just technology gets better of me every time. I somehow I feel. But anyway, so I was just telling before we started this live session, before I sent you a request and we were not able to join, I was just telling them how you changed the way I feel from the inside because of the kind of diet that you prescribed, the way you figured out what's wrong, the way you told me how it can be improved in a very natural way, which is no rocket science. So everything felt so easy. But before that, how it felt like, I don't know how do I handle my problems of my body or which way it is going to get better. So there's so many of my friends in the industry, outside the industry, who actually face the same problem because we have very similar lifestyle. So when I
Yeah,
discuss these problems with them, I feel like, there needs to be someone who can actually tell you that this is no rocket science and this is very natural. It just needs to be, there needs to be someone who can direct in the right way. And then came your book. So now we
yeah,
have this book which I've been telling everyone, please read it. It is the easiest way you can get to know what is good for you in the most natural way. We have Yuktahaar, the Belly and the Brain Diet book written by Munmun. Yes, I also have mine. Wait, I'll get mine. This, this
yay,
is I.
yay.
Yes, I have my personalized signed one. So so
Yeah,
maybe
and
maybe
there's
you can
actually
get your
forward
hands
in the
on.
book, which is very,
Yeah,
very special,
yes, I have written
considering,
a forward.
yeah,
My personal experiences, guys, they've been like my personal experience with Munmun. So Munmun, I'll start with a few questions that I have thought of asking you basis my experience with my diet, with my lifestyle, and which a lot of others I think in this fast-paced life will identify with. We
yeah,
all are workaholics here, right? And but we want to stay fit as well in whatever limited time that we have. Nobody has time to weigh 250 grams of protein, 300 grams of carbs in life. No, none of us have this time. So
yeah,
let's just answer a few common questions which people can actually get enlightened with, some break some myths, and let's just give them few hacks. And for the detailed knowledge, you can always have this book which is there on Amazon. So start with the first thing. When I came to you, I had a huge problem with my gluten intolerance. I used to
yeah,
feel that I put on weight when I have gluten. I stopped having rotis, chapatis. Matlab, a Sadharni who was brought up with parathas and rotis an entire life, I had to stop all of that. No roti, no chapati, no parathas for me. I used to run away from gluten. So, do you think that is a good way, or that is something that actually can help, or we can make some way for little gluten and not enough, or what can be the hack for this, because a lot of us today feel that we can't digest gluten.
yeah. So, Taapsee, I'll start with your example. Like when we started working, you were already on a gluten-free plan, which you yourself had kind of devised because you were a person who used to read a lot and you always knew kind of, what is good, what is not good, right? But even after
Yeah,
leaving gluten, there weren't those kind of benefits that you were anticipating. Like for the Sardarni in you to leave everything was quite a challenge, a show of willpower. And then जब हम मेहनत करते हैं, we want something to show and some results, some feeling better, which wasn't there. So
yeah,
this is exactly how everyone is, suffering, I would say nowadays, because हर कोई gluten तो छोड़ देता है, but after that they just feel that कुछ miracle हो जाएगा and then our health is going to get better because we have just left gluten. But it doesn't work like that. We should leave gluten for some time, only so that in that period of time we can heal our body, we can heal our gut. Gluten isn't necessarily bad, but if your body is in a state of imbalance, your metabolism is out of whack, you feel, those fatigue which is unexplained, you feel that I'm doing so much, but my weight isn't budging off. These are all signs of imbalanced gut function. So when these things are already there, tab jab hum gluten khayenge, it's going to aggravate the problem. So for that time, yes, you need to leave the gluten for some time. In the same time, you need to work on your gut function using a lot of other nutrients. And once your gut is restored, you need to bring gluten back to the diet. So gluten
Hmm.
is not something which is bad as such. Like in
Hmm.
your case also, when we started working, I did say, ki, chalo, theek hai, let's keep away gluten for some time. But then later, after some time, we brought it back, and now you have gluten. It's not that ki, ki
Yeah.
aapko roti khana mana hai ya any kind of bread khana mana hai. It's not like that anymore. But yes, there was a time when we had restricted it. So
Hmm.
this is exactly what is there in the book also. The book is like a three-phased program, where in the first two phases you restrict gluten. In the meanwhile,
Hmm.
you work on your gut function using other nutrients. In the last phase, in phase three, when you're back to your gut health, you again bring back the gluten back to your diet. You don't have to quit it for a lifetime.
Yeah, and I think what people should understand is they shouldn't be having that gluten-free bread, because I realized
Yeah,
when women told me that the substances or the starch or that they use actually to replace gluten is actually going to make you put on more weight. And people
yeah,
think that they'll have gluten-free diet so that it can help you reduce weight. So that's
yeah,
a big, big myth that people need to get rid of. So
yeah.
apart
Gluten-free
from this,
khana hai. Yeah.
I feel, Manman, the one more thing which I really suffered from was the fact I hate night shifts. I detest waking up during late nights. I'm not a night person, but then with my job, and I'm sure a lot of others who are watching this, sometimes we have to stay up because of work, or because of some or the other need that is there. We have to stay up the whole night to work. So what kind of diet was a big issue for me, because my metabolism used to die after sunset, and I used to feel so fatigued with my metabolism that everything used to just pull me down energy wise. So tell me, what first of all, what is the right time you feel generally in a normal body cycle is good to sleep? Or if a person is working in the night, then what kind of hacks can that person use in the diet so the metabolism doesn't give up?
So see, the good time to sleep is definitely, say 10ish. You know, it's a good time to sleep. If not 10, then probably 10 to 11. That's a good time to sleep. Finish your dinner by 7, 7:30. Keep a 2 to 3 hours gap between the bedtime and dinner. And then, doze off anywhere between 10 to 11. But बहुत लोग होते हैं, जैसे, in your case, when you have to work in the night, the problem with night shifts is when we are staying awake, हमारा जो circadian clock का जो function होता है, that actually goes haywire because we are, staying awake. And when we stay awake in the night, it's obvious that we will eat also. So you're eating, you're drinking, you're staying awake, you're working. Most of the people who are staying awake in the night are either on laptops or phones because their profession demands so. So all that
Hmm.
actually changes the, circadian clock function. And that in turn, brings a lot of diseases. Weight gain is just one of them. But it can, bring diseases, serious ones like cancer and so on. So,
Hmm.
of course we have to minimize we have to minimize these night shifts. If we can do something like, we were talking, I remember in Ranchi when we were discussing how we can, minimize your night shifts so that,
Yeah.
you get to do these night shifts much lesser. So in
Hmm.
each profession, I'm sure there are ways where you can work out, so that the night shifts in the first place ho hi na. But
Hmm.
if you at all have to do these night shifts, then there are certain points that you have to remember. One is exposure to the bright light, exposure to the blue light, which is from the laptop and mobile phones. And in diet, basically, you just have to ensure that the night shift shuru ho raha hai, and in the initial first few hours, you can have a little more wholesome and substantial meal. But in the last few hours, jab, you know that you have to go home and you're going to hit the bed. So the last few hours is the time when you can eat lighter. So
Hmm.
when it comes to basically tea, coffee, the working on the laptops and food and everything, these are all the parameters based on which I would make a night plan for a night shift worker. Having said that, in the book, there's a beautiful flow chart that I have given, which people can follow, which actually tells step by step instructions of how they can actually navigate through the entire night shift and work on these parameters that I've mentioned. So it's a flow chart
Hmm.
that they can just ready to use.
You can, for that, yeah, go to Amazon and get this book. So one thing that I'm going to say for the positive and the negative. See, millets are looked at as a very positive thing. So you can just have whatever millet is what people feel. And sugar is on the other hand looked as a very negative thing in diet. कि मतलब शक्कर तो खानी नहीं चाहिए, मतलब मीठा तो मतलब बिल्कुल ही अवॉइड करना चाहिए. ये दो एक्सट्रीम्स हैं. क्या ये एक्चुअली में अकॉर्डिंग टू यू आर टू extremes of millets yes and sugar no, or you feel that there is in some way we still customize these two things in our diets in some way?
Yeah, I know people are like somehow like there was a phobia around ghee a few years back, and now that
Yeah,
phobia has
it's a
shifted to
superfood.
sugar. Yeah, yeah. So now that phobia has shifted to sugar, अब suddenly सबको sugar खाने से बहुत डर लगता है. But you know it. Even in Rashmi Rocket, you were having that besan ka laddu which had sugar, like during
Yeah,
the
yeah,
shooting of Rashmi Rocket.
yeah.
So sugar is not at all bad. You know, it depends हम किस form में उसको consume कर रहे हैं. So needless to say, you know, we cannot have those which are present in say a protein bar, because even in the protein bar, the kind of sugar that is present is the industrialized sugar. So
Hmm,
people end up having protein bars thinking that they are going to, you know, make a good
hmm,
aesthetically pleasing body, but they stay
hmm,
away from say a nimbu sharbat at home, saying that it is
hmm.
sugar,
Yeah.
but having the sugar which is there in the protein bar. So,
Hmm,
so we have to be careful about that. Having said that, जो हमारे kitchen में जो sugar use होता है, उसमें the varieties is like honey. Like honey is something that you start with. You start your day with cinnamon tea or your
hmm,
ginger tea, and you put honey in it, right? So
hmm,
you consume honey in your teas. The other way is the
hmm,
jaggery,
hmm,
you know, cane jaggery, palm jaggery, and the third is the sugar, which is basically, you know, the khand, the unrefined sugar.
hmm, hmm.
So having just
Khand,
a
yeah.
mix of these three in the daily life is good enough. You know, you can have a mix in the way that you know you can see that I have honey 4 days. This is what I actually do with most of my clients. Like I ask them to have honey 4 days in a week. 2 days in a week they have jaggery, and once in a week they can have those khand or the khari
Hmm,
shakkar, the
hmm,
unrefined sugar. So in that way
hmm.
they have a good balance of these different kinds of sugars, and nothing becomes in excess. So
Yeah.
so
And
yeah.
then
So
on the other hand is the millets, which we think is like just good to have at any time, whatever millet is available. What do you have to say about that?
yeah. So
क्योंकि
millets
आजकल
again.
सब राइस वाइस छोड़ चुके हैं. आजकल सबको हो गया कि राइस से तो बहुत वेट पुट ऑन हो रहा है, तो राइस तो नहीं खाने हैं, मिलेट्स
Yeah.
खाने हैं बस हमारे को दिन रात.
Nee, but this is actually, you know, one trend that we can be at least thankful about, and this is also because of एक तो rice, and जैसे आपने कहा it's perfect, like एक तो rice, because I don't know there's some kind of fear around rice, and
Hmm.
the other is also because of the gluten free trend, because millets are all
Hmm.
gluten free. So हर किसी
हाँ.
को जो gluten free खाना है, they all get into that trend of, you know, eating millets. I said this is a trend that I'll be thankful for, because millets are great for health. You know, this is complete truth that millets are extremely good. They are extremely great for health. The only problem is that millets, हमारे ancient, you know, हमारे ancestors खाते आए हैं, and
Hmm.
whenever we consume anything that belongs to like a collective wisdom, we need to accept that thing in its totality, and that is where, you know, modern world goes wrong. हमें पता है
Hmm.
millets अच्छे हैं, and we just try to pick it up, you know, randomly. But
Hmm.
you know, if you go by the ancient way, then there are millets, certain millets which are had in certain seasons. आप
Hmm.
हर कोई मिलेट हर कोई सीजन में नहीं खा सकते, otherwise it can actually harm you more than it will
Hmm.
benefit you.
Hmm.
And combinations भी होते हैं, like you know, you need to combine the millet with certain things. If it's a heat generating millet, you combine it with cooling agents so that the
Hmm.
resultant meal is like not very heating for the body. So there are ways of having it, which of course has been explained in the book, and you also have
Hmm.
been having it for so many
Yeah.
years. But
There's so many millets I did not even know जो मुझे मुनमुन ने डाइट में लिख के दिए, तो and I was like okay ये अब मैं जा जाके ले तो रही हूँ जो है मार्केट में अवेलेबल, मतलब जो बहुत ही बेसिक मिलेट्स हैं, बट कभी इससे पहले मुझे पता नहीं थे. एंड एट डिफरेंट प्लेसेस आई गो टू, मुनमुन tells me to have different kinds of millet basis the weather and you know whatever the temperature and all is there. So it
yeah,
just yeah, मतलब हर तरह का मिलेट हर जगह पे नहीं काम करता. Basically it should be like taken at the right kind of weather and the time of the year, I guess, and the time of the day also. I think that
yeah,
also matters,
to-
right?
totally, totally.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, one thing to end with this chat, I mean, because I get really amused when I see my colleagues, मेरे सारे वो जो एकदम इतने एक्सेसिव डाइट वाला खाना खा रहे होते हैं। एंड मैं उनको जब बताती हूँ कि भाई मेरा आज ना डिनर के अंदर मुनमुन ने लिखा है नान खाना है, नान, सो दे लुक एट मी लाइक कि ये कौन सी डाइट चल रही है। तो तो मैं ऊपर से, आई लव छोले भटूरे एंड मुनमुन लाइक कि हाँ खाओ ना छोले भटूरे, सो आई ईट छोले भटूरे। सो दे लाइक ये वाली डाइट तो मतलब हमने कभी सुनी नहीं। तो ये जो भटूरे और नान वाली डाइट है, कैन यू प्लीज हेल्प टेल पीपल कि ये एक्चुअली में इज अ पार्ट ऑफ अ गुड डाइट, इट इज नॉट एज बैड एज पीपल फील। बेचारा भटूरा ऐसे ही बदनाम हो रखा है।
आई नो फूड इंडस्ट्री में बहुत सारे फूड बेचारे ऐसे ही बदनाम हो गए, उनकी किस्मत खराब है।
Yeah, so
बट
the brand ambassador of Chole Bhature is wants you to tell
एग्जैक्टली,
everyone कि please
आई नो
भटूरा बुरा नहीं है, खाओ।
आपके वो रोहिणी वाला छोला भटूरा वाला विल बी वेरी हैप्पी टू हियर दिस।
I know. So
So
tell me, but
basically,
how is it good?
yeah, so basically, we all are hearing this craze, and probably a lot of these viewers who are watching us right now, they would have, gone into that craze of sourdough breads. Everyone
Hmm.
wants to have sourdough breads. क्यों खाना है पता नहीं, लेकिन सब खा रहे हैं तो खाना है, and सब बोल रहे हैं अच्छा है तो अच्छा है. But it really baffles me when people look down at bhatura or naan, because is that not a sourdough bread? अब
Hmm.
भटूरा का आटा जो हम लगाते हैं, we let it
Hmm.
ferment. नान का
Hmm.
आटा लगाते हैं, we let it ferment, and that is why it
Hmm.
has that little खट्टापन. So why is it
Hmm.
not a sourdough bread to begin with? That is number one. Number
Hmm.
two, naan और भटूरा को जब हम आटे को, if we keep it there for a long time, which is actually in the scientific language, it's called long fermentation or it's called slow fermentation. इसका
Hmm.
मतलब है that we let that dough to stay for at least 6 to 7 hours.
Hmm.
जो हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं खमीर उठने दो. So
Hmm.
when we allow that process to happen, we don't kind of expedite the process using some soda or whatever. We let that to happen. The gluten in that maida or whatever dough, whatever atta you're using, that gluten will actually disintegrate. So
Hmm.
technically, your naan and your bhatura are
It
gluten
becomes
free.
gluten free. Yeah, it
Yeah,
becomes gluten free. Yes.
yeah, and it is without those additives which are actually used in a commercial gluten-free bread, like you just said few minutes back.
Yeah.
So it's actually even healthier. So there is no reason for us to kind of fear it. अब मैदे की बात करें, then everyone starts, shouting from the rooftop, कि अरे मैदा है, there is
मैदा
no
बुरा
fiber.
है.
हाँ, मैदा बुरा है, there is no fiber. But then again, because of the fermentation process, the bacteria which are doing that fermentation, they produce so many compounds which are, scientifically called EPS compounds, that these EPS compounds are actually prebiotic, which means that they are fibrous. So it
Okay.
actually, becomes like it has starch, but it's different kind of starch, which is the resistant starch. So actually,
Hmm.
because of that fermentation that has been done, a bhatura or a naan is quite different than, say, a maida ka general roti, which is not fermented. So that is why I
Hmm.
say when it comes to food, it's just not the उसमें क्या ingredients है, how we are making it, what processes we are using it. There's so much of biochemistry there that
Hmm.
people just have to be more mindful. So they can have the chola bhatura once in a week is completely fine.
Yeah, that's what
So
I'm having once in a
yeah,
week. और आज के
yeah.
दिन मैं नान करूंगी आज। आज
So once
नान
in a
खाऊंगी
week,
मैं।
yeah. Once in a week is completely fine. We don't need to overdo it, thinking कि यार बड़ा अच्छा है, so let's not get into that foolishness of overdoing it. But we just
Hmm.
have to maintain a balance, and we just have to stop fearing food.
Yeah, please, yeah, I'll stop fearing food because food is good, guys, if you have the right knowledge. And to get the right knowledge, I will genuinely subscribe to this. I mean, I already have my copy, so I guess you guys need to really get your hands on this. Uh, when I actually read about the idea Munmun had behind it, I was like, ये तो मैं खुद ही जा जाके लोगों को बोलूंगी। जैसे ही मैंने उनके टेबल पे ऐसे एक्सट्रीम डाइट वाली चीजें देखी, मैं साथ में ही टेबल पे ये बुक रखने वाली हूँ कि प्लीज ये पढ़ लो। Within 24 hours of the time Munmun launched this book, this became #1 on Amazon, right, Munmun?
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
So definitely there's something in this that will change the way you perceive food. What is good, what is bad, what is a myth, what is a hack. You will actually get to know so much and more in this book, I will say. So please go
And
and get this book. Where all you can get it, Munmun?
everywhere where books are sold, online, offline,
अभी
bookstores.
ये मत बोलना कि सोल्ड आउट हो गया, ठीक है? ये मत
I will.
बोल।
I wish.
So you can get it on stores and on Amazon. Any other online where they can order?
Flipkart and Amazon, yes.
All right, Flipkart and Amazon, you can get your hands on this and please read this. And you can text me, Munmun, on our social media profiles to tell us what was that one big takeaway of yours. इसमें एक chapter है मेरे पे भी. तो आप जरा
Exactly.
you can actually read about how Munmun changed the way I look at food in that one chapter that's on me here. I'm very excited about what you feel about that when you read it. So please leave us a message, Munmun ko bhi aur mere ko bhi, so we know what is your biggest takeaway from the book. So thank you so much, Munmun. Not just
Thank
for
you.
like giving us these hacks, but also giving us this big hack of a book. And I
Thank
hope,
you so much for
oh, my
joining us
pleasure.
and joining and doing this from Abu Dhabi. I'm just very, feeling special about it that you have done this all the way in the middle of a holiday.
No,
And
holiday food and Munmun go hand in hand.
that's so sweet of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we shall take your leave. Bye, Munmun. Bye bye.
Bye.